Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Fullerton,
Here.
Christensen,
Present.
Shin,
Here.
Brummett,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Rodriguez is absent, and Newman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Absence of council members. I did not hear from Anthony yet, so I would imagine he will show up here shortly. Did you hear from him?
I actually yelled across the street today. I don't. I didn't know if he wasn't going to be here or not, but I suspect that the new addition to the family is probably causing a little bit of.
So we'll see if he shows up. Maybe he can get the diapers changed and show up quick. Invocation, Randy.
It's always an honor and a privilege to be able to open in prayer. You know, I was just thinking this year marks our 250th anniversary of our independence, and the United States has grown into the most prosperous, generous, powerful nation in the world. We established a democratic republic like none other. And we as citizens of this republic come under the rule of no king or individual ruler. And we have a constitution that declares that our rights come not from the government, but our rights come from the Creator. And today, 250 years later, we're meeting in the City Hall. We're opening with a time of prayer, acknowledging our Creator. So I quote tonight from Leviticus 25:10, that was forged into the Liberty Bell that's hanging in Independence Hall in Philadelphia. And that was back in 1751, before the American Revolution even took place. And it says there, proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. Let us pray. Our Father who's in heaven, hallowed be your name. You are our creator, and it is from you that every gift, good gift, comes from above. In you we find wisdom, we find counsel, we find peace. Tonight, I ask you, Lord, to grant all three of these to those who have been chosen to represent this community. They've been appointed to make decisions, plans, and to the best of their ability to fulfill that, what would be the will of those they are representing. Lord, they cannot go back and undo the past, but with your help, with your wisdom, with your counsel, with your peace, they can take the steps necessary for the future of this community. I pray for those that are sitting here today. May you bless them. May you keep them in all their ways as they purpose to fulfill their duty. I ask all this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Randy. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Looks like it. Before us tonight, we have the approval of minutes from the August 10th, 2026 regular council meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Moved and seconded. Is there any corrections or additions? Wow. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? See, I wanted to get that done quick so we didn't have any. That's the first, isn't it?
Second.
Second? Well, the minutes are getting really good. Now open to public comment. Anybody that would wish to address the council can talk about whatever you want to talk about. You have a 5-minute limit. Anybody in the audience want to take advantage of public comment? Just give us your name and address when you get up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jordan Leedson. I live at 223 North Clinton Street here in Charlotte. I'm here today. I've lived here since 2021. And I've worked in your community. But I'm here today to talk to you about people like me who are veterans, but we also have issues with drones. And we have these issues. I have this issue, particularly in your community. I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain quickly. And why I'm going to tell you about this now is because there's been a drone here in the city of Charlotte, and I have filed some kind of police report stating so. And I hadn't been able to say anything for years because there was no public release of information. And what many of you now see on the TV is, to you, maybe it's outlandish or fringe, but to me, it is up close and personal and near. And the drone type I'm going to show you and talk to you about is this. It is these new Sphere drones. And this is one format, and this is its second format, where it does have the ability to use some kind of tentacle. I don't know what they're for or why, but this is what it is. And this drawing predates the public release of information by about a year and a half. And these are my personal observations of a up close, and by up close I mean within arm's length distance of one of these drones or spheres. And I'm here to show you today, this is my artist rendition of of one of these two occasions where I was ambushed by one of these drones and I wasn't physically injured and it had left. The second occasion was at the property itself meant that I've just stated, where it had flown over in the daytime and it had stopped and began calibrations. And these calibrations are, I would say, they've been viewed by the public now, and all the details of this drone will match my statements and have matched my statements, including size, including abilities, including like the tentacle thing. And I'm here to tell and you all that one of these things has been here, and not only that, their intent, whatever their intent may be, also includes individual people and possibly either active duty or veterans. It does seem to be a factor, and I also do want to bring to this council's attention that I have filled out an official form with DOD saying that one of these things has been here. And I would like to close with that, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience would want to speak? How about online? Madam Clerk, anybody online? Nobody online? Okay, we'll close the public comment period. We have approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second to approve the agenda. Any discussion?
Does that includes the consent agenda and all of that, to move items from that, or is that in the consent agenda?
When we get to the consent, you can pull something off if you want. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Agenda is approved. And we'll start with reports from, at least in my position. Actually, it was Tiger and I who attended the EMS fire quarterly update. And information-wise, the guy that's running the place is fantastic. He's been doing a top-notch job, and in the last 2 years, he's pulled us from in the depths of trouble to really making huge progress. They actually are fully staffed now. He's got everybody hired that he can. That's 77 employees who work for Charlotte EMS. He's just recently putting on a fourth, they call them trucks, I call them ambulances, but a fourth truck is going to be on for 12 hours a day, and they'll use that. He calculates it all by time of when they're the busiest. So some days, there's always 3 up here on duty, 3 full crews, and there'll be a fourth now some of the time. And today, there were 2 times when mutual aid had to be called. That's how busy they are. In this town alone, in the last quarter, there were 423 calls and another 505 transfers out of this hospital. So almost 1,000 calls just from the city of Charlotte in a quarter. He anticipates that the amount of calls overall for Charlotte EMS is going to increase to about 14,000 in the next year, which is huge. It was interesting to see the types of calls that they go on. This last quarter was falls, difficulty in breathing, weakness, and chest pain. Those are pretty much the common ones. When our guys get called out to go with them, we kept track of it for the last quarter. 80+% of the time, we do patient care from the fire department standpoint. 80%, a little bit more than that. And sometimes we're there before the ambulance gets there in case if they got to come from Eaton Rapids or something like that. It's very interesting. The contract for the city is coming up next year. It was a 3-year contract, which if you remember, there was a mess getting it signed and nobody signed it and somebody did and all that garbage. Anyway, that's coming up and he's hoping that even with increase in prices, that he may be able to lower the rate for the city and the townships, which would be huge. That's good news. Tiger and I met with him and we talked to him because he's an older, he's not older, he's younger than I am, but he's been in the business a long time. He used to run Sparrow ER and he knows what's going on. He says that when they take a transfer from here in Charlotte and they take it to Lansing, if they have a really, really good day, they can do it in 2 hours' time. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 because Sparrow and Lansing it's U of M Sparrow, but they're so busy that they only have 77 beds, I think he said, in ER. And so when they get full, then the ambulance people that take somebody in there get stuck in the hallway with their gurney and they can't leave because they don't have a cot to take with them. So catch-22, they pretty much got you until you got a bed to go on. The good news from him is that U of M is looking at expanding the hospital, another 14 beds for ER. The idea would be this Charlotte would be a focal point for, getting people in and then waiting here until it's time when there's a bed in Lansing, they can take them up there. They can at least get care. So the reason to bring this up is to prepare the council that we don't know where this is going to stop. We're well over 2,000 runs this year. When I started in the business, it was about 180. That's a huge increase. So we don't know what's going to happen or where it's going to go. And his explanation, because I straight up asked him, I said, so what's causing this? You've been in the business a long time. We used to load and go. And he said that the biggest thing now is the button that says 911 on it. And as soon as somebody pushes that button and it calls 911, you're into the system. and somebody's going to show up to see why you pushed the button or if you need help. Years ago, it wasn't that way. People got put in the car, taken to the hospital. So everybody, it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I heard a couple today. One was lady fell yesterday and her shoulder hurts today. That becomes the priority too. So we're fighting an uphill battle. Be prepared, because it's going to be in the council's hands someday to say, we're just not going to go, or we're going to go and it's going to take extra help to do it. And I don't know what the answer is going to be. I don't know how you tell somebody we're not going to show up, especially if it's zero, or, I mean, Ryan Newman knows what it's like. Councilman Chin knows what's it like when you need help. I mean, and I'm back to the point of, if you're going to have the service, you're going to end up paying for it somehow. So that's the report. I'm just preparing you for whatever's going to happen down the road.
Can I ask you a general question?
Sure.
Are you allowed to define, I mean, I worked, when I was in the Air Force, I did 2 years of emergency room as an EMT, and one of the things that would have been mighty helpful at the time is if we could just say, that's not an emergency,
No.
right?
Yeah,
So I'm just wondering, after 40 years, can you still say that's not an emergency, or no, you're just
a
gonna?
doctor can,
Yeah,
but when that call goes into central dispatch, and you have somebody on the phone, all they can take is the information, and they'll say, we'll dispatch it. When you get to the scene, you might be able to tell them, but you already are there.
yeah.
There's no way that the dispatch can say, oh, we're not going to show up. That's not an emergency today.
Tell me again what you, yeah.
So that's why I say
Yeah.
it's great to have the 911 and everything, but when you dial that number, you're in the system and somebody's going to come. Somebody's going to show up. I'm just telling you that it's getting hard to keep up.
I got a general question too.
Okay.
Does that come out to 38 calls a day? Is that what I'm coming up with? That's foreseeing 38 calls a day?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I see. And that's throughout the Eaton County EMS?
Eaton area EMS.
I see. Well, that's more than the training.
City of Charlotte, City of Eaton Rapids, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 townships, or 7. That's a lot.
Yeah, I'd say.
That's
Seems
a
like
lot. But Brian listens to it, don't you?
I listened to it. I worked for him for 6 years too. You know,
Wasn't this bad, was it?
no, it wasn't, but it was still bad. You ended up being taxi service for some people. Needed a ride to Lansing, so I call 911 and get an ambulance ride north. You know, there's people that call and they walk out to the ambulance, and, you know, with their bag packed and ready to go. You know, and that, but you know, and taken away from people that really have,
Yeah.
you know,
That's,
you know, medical emergencies and stuff. You know, so.
Well, we'll keep you updated.
Yeah.
We'll see if the hospital does go through. That brings us to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to a couple of things that I shared in my weekly report, I wanted to highlight the Mr. Chill grant. The round 1 is entered its closeout phase. We have extended it until the end of October, I believe. Just there's a couple of projects that need to wrap up, and so we're butting against the deadline that MSHA has established. Next, there will be a second round of Mr. Chill grant that we have funding for, and so we're just trying to move through the process and close out the projects that we have now, and so that we can move on to the next round. Next, the private road transfer. I mentioned this in my report, is that we've been having some discussion with the folks of the Homeowners Association about a private road transfer to a public road. And so Stephanie, our Public Works Director, and we've met out there with the Homeowners Association and just had some preliminary discussions. So I just want to put this on your radar that we're doing some due diligence and talking and trying to get a game plan together on how that may look before it comes to City Council. But we do want to, we had some other things that were getting in the way of that. So my first step is going to be reaching back out to the Homeowners Association to get eyes on some of their legal documents and some of the historical conversation that's taking place as it relates to private roads. And so that'll be a project for Stephanie and I to kind of work on and get the responses back to the homeowners association so they can do some consideration on their part as to what we are expecting as it relates to the roads and the condition that they're in and so forth. Then I included in here just a memorandum from the McKenna, who's overseeing our Chill Grant. And just gave you all a little bit of a highlights of where they're at, the financials, just painting a little bit more picture. So we're looking forward to, when we get close to that closeout, of giving you another update as to what was the impact through the first round of the Chill Grant. And then there was a question going back into my report about the fund balance. I don't know if everyone had an opportunity to review that, but working with the Woodhill Group and David Pauly, who's overseeing our finances, and just asked him for a quote as to how does it look right now. And so he's mentioned that the 17% is what our fund balance minimum is. I asked him, does that apply for all funds? And generally speaking, he said, no, it's just for the general fund. And so with them moving some things around, he's thinking that, we're double that currently at our fund balance, so around 34%. So you're above your fund balance minimum threshold. So that was great to hear. With that, I just improve and share some more information about the council policy as it relates to fund balance. And that's all I have for tonight, Mayor. Any questions?
Manager's report, Mr. Chen.
As I understand it, the property that subdivision was built was annexed from the township. And do you know if there's an agreement on file regarding that property when we took it over?
What property is that?
The road, the entire subdivision back there was annexed from the township some years ago, when I think Nelson Canton started that whole development.
It was Burkhead property owned before that. He's talking about the one that you're talking about with the subdivision.
Yeah, enlighten me. I don't have those records and documents, and I haven't been able to review those.
Nelson Canton did develop it to start with.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was some provision in that agreement that said that the roads weren't going to be maintained by the city because their taxes are exactly the same as any other city occupant, right? So,
If I remember right, when we did that through Planning Commission, they kept the roads private because they didn't want to build them up to city standards. And at that time, the DPW director said, if they're not city standards, we can't take them over. So as far as I understand, they would have to bring it to city standards, and I imagine that's why Stephanie's looking at it. And then it could be done, but I don't know if they can bring them up
yeah.
or not. But that was the reason to do it. We got them to start building in the back so that when the cement trucks came, they wouldn't keep driving on there, and it crushed the first bunch of road they put in there. But, why would you start in the front? But
Yeah.
whatever, that was not us doing it.
Absolutely. So we have about a 10-step process that we are going to go through, Stephanie and I, and part of that is the standards that we have today, and do they meet, or what would the expense be to get them up to that level, and then, a process for that too. What is the feedback that we receive from the HOA, and having that discussion with council and sharing that information with you as well as, so yeah, there's about a 10-step process. Step one was just trying to get the legal docs and understand the history of it. How did it come to be, and any discussions prior. So thank you for a little bit of that information here tonight.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to point out, the last time we heard about fund balance, we were at 54%. So you can see how fast something can change. And so I just caution us to be careful when, you know, we had all those times where something said, hey, this came up, that came up, this came up. And I asked, where's it gonna come from? Fund balance. What's our fund balance? We weren't sure. You can go from 54 to the 30s pretty quick if you're not paying close attention. So I just want to make sure that we don't look up again and go, oh, wow, look, now we're at 17%.
Actually, if you read that policy he sent out, the extra in fund balance, say you have more than 17%, that can't be spent on anything that's just normal day-to-day activities. It has to be a special one-time project or a emergency. That was good in that policy. What?
Yeah, we approved our way through all that. They didn't just spend it. We up here said, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you got to be careful.
But, you know, to hear that it's 34%, and in my opinion, that's, well, 17% of 8 million is 1.5 or 6 million. So we're gonna have 3 million. So, I mean, my thought is then maybe we should show the people that we are gonna pay part of that retirement back. A one-time deal. Not the whole thing, but I think we should be thinking about that down the road, because we said we're having a special assessment because we got to pay this retirement back, if you all remember. And then I think it was Mr. Bracci stood up there and said, where's the money? And nobody could answer the question because we really didn't know the way that special assessment was done before. We didn't know where it was going. It was going in the general fund. So we're getting to the bottom of this finally. The special assessment's been spelled out now, what's it gonna be spent on? That's great. But if there is extra money in there, and, you know, I didn't think it was gonna be 50%. I was pretty sure of that. I was glad to see it was over 25 or 30, because that's a good thing. But I think we should all think about someday about if we can take part of that and pay some of that retirement back and get ahead of the game a little bit. So,
Do we know where we're at with the percentage on the pension liability?
we don't, not unless somebody remembers.
Yeah.
They were here and told us, but I don't remember what. But what a better use if we can't, according to the way I read that policy, and we're under that, we can't just say, okay, well, we're gonna hire 5 more people and spend the money. We can't do that. That's what it says. So I'm gonna have to think about that. Anything else for the manager? Then we will move on to staff report, CPD report. Did you want to make any comments, Chief? Unless there's any questions.
Stephanie?
Your staff, too. You're good? What? Okay. And did we have we received a report from the attorney. It's not on the agenda here, but was there any questions for his report? He's here tonight to answer them. None? All right. Brings us to the consent agenda.
We have committee reports.
I don't see it on the agenda, that's why I was wondering.
Council report.
Yes, council report.
Okay, committees.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I actually went to a CARC meeting, and we are still giving out money to all the right people and not the wrong people. And, but we do have issues now that Carmel Township pulled out. If you really look at the CARC situation, you'll see that that leaves them spending a whole massive portion of their money on essentially CARC. And that park that's down there in that baseball field, when really it could be going to playground equipment and the stuff that it was designed for. So this is a conversation for parks in general, city in general, that I think we should have at some point. But anyway, they're healthy and doing mostly right.
This is do you know how much money CARC has
At a given, in a given point, I think they're up to, I think they take in about 27,000 a year now if you take away Carmel Township. And yeah, to spend on several things, but then when you look at trying to maintain a baseball field in 18 acres and whatever you're doing down there, it's amazing how that eats that up. There was a line in the parks thing that I thought was absolutely golden that just said Cark shouldn't buy property, and to me it's like, well, now that is where the conversation should start, and then Cark could get back to spending all of its cash the way it was basically designed by charter and bylaws, and the good children of Charlotte would get more, I believe, is the way I look at this. So it's a work in progress, and we should keep at it.
Okay.
Yep. We had a brownfield meeting, and our chair, Armitage, resigned due to work duties, and Mike Dueck, former council member Dueck, was elected chair. The other was the warning from Vince Pascu, our former city manager, acting city manager, in regards to the LDFA fund. He was concerned that we needed to reactivate and assign it to the Brownfield Redevelopment Committee, which is done in a lot of places, because if we don't start doing something with that money, he was afraid that they'll take that money away from us. So I've had some conversation. We did at the Brownfield meeting. It's reflected in the minutes, so hopefully we can get that done fairly soon. The other was E-Tran. We met, and they've asked that we share the ridership report every month with our people that we represent. And believe it or not, I was shocked to learn that Charlotte is the biggest user of E-Tran than any other community that's part of the E-Tran process. We even beat Delta Township. So that's, I mean, we through October through July, their fiscal year is October. We've had 25,522 passengers. Delta Township, 24,013. So we beat them by 1,000, and we're the most heavy users of that. We also have maintained or started to keep track of refusals, service denials, because we just don't have buses or people to drive them, although we finally are fully staffed. Most of the drivers need CDLs to be able to drive, so it takes a while for us to get new drivers in there, but we're in good shape there. But to date, since we eliminated the bus, the regular route from Charlotte to Delta Township, et cetera, we've had to refuse 1,477 calls, which is significant when you think about it from that standpoint. Heaviest user right now, it'll kick up our students that go to school of choice, and we've seen some noise on Facebook about parents they can't take them anymore, and they took them last year, but this year they can't. The other thing is the millage is coming up. I wanted to share, if you take one and pass it around. And what it is, it's a renewal of 0.25 mils, which is on an average home, I think we got it on here, for $100,000 value home, which is $50,000 taxable value. What we're talking about is $12.50 a year. So we want to get that message out. This is the first of many advertisements that we're going to put out for that renewal. And hopefully we'll get the support of the community on a much-needed bus service. Without that millage, it's doubtful whether or not E-Tron will be able to continue from that standpoint. We do, even though we lost the bus service from the historical museum to the west side of Lansing, we still have a run from the county twice a day from the county to the Lansing area. And that's primarily because of prisoner releases and taking the prisoners out of the community and back to where they live from that standpoint. So, and that, we're not taking a lot of people, and that's still, if you look at their bus schedule, they run it in the morning and then one in the afternoon. And you can hop on it if it's available if you want to go to Lansing on that route as well. So we want to remind people of that. And that's it.
Mr. Rodriguez? Nothing?
Nothing from planning.
Mr. Newman, Camp Francis, huh?
Camp Francis, we met the day after the last council meeting, and then we've got bylaws to look at later on. They approved those. The concrete path grant had been approved. They've talked to the contractor that's going to be doing that somewhere between October 3rd and the 13th. They suggested to go to the east of the inner circle of where the campfire ring is from the entrance down. It laid out, was a little more level, you know, and that sort of thing. So disability and wheelchairs and all of that would have an easier time to go through that way. They've got a summer campfire coming up on August 30th at 6 p.m. They're going to furnish water, trail mix, s'mores, and have the campfire. So if anybody's interested in that, you can check them out on Facebook. And then I guess the next big thing is that they've been drawn as a possible recipient for the next Women Giving Together grant. So we'll have more information coming on that, what that grant is, amount is, and what it's used for, and that sort of thing. So.
Are people using it? Do you get the numbers from that?
They are using it. They've got quite a few rentals over this summer. I'll get updated numbers from them here at the next meeting in September 8th. And then I'll report on that.
Mr. Brummett?
We did have a parks meeting. I was a little late getting there, but I did get brought up to speed. The tree nursery is doing well. There is a little bit of dying trees there. It's kind of just part of the nature of that type of thing. But we also were awarded officially the grant from the DNR, which was really going to help out. Now we just got to figure out exactly what the funds can be spent on, what we told them that we wanted, and making sure we follow all the regulations. Parks design updates. There was talk about the old Foundry Park, and later in the agenda, you'll see that we're talking about the naming of that. Future potential for a splash pad at Bennett Park, and then other updates on the maintenance. If you are one of those that gets onto Facebook or some of the other social media scenes, you'll see some of the things that DPW and also the park rangers are doing to update some of the maintenance in the parks. A lot of needed maintenance, painting and such that has taken place. New park signs are in place. And then we talked about the grand reopening of Oak Park. So please make sure that you're a part of that on Friday, this Friday coming up. Information again can be found if you're not already well aware. We talked about the board meeting dates for 27, which will have to be approved, I do believe. They're being submitted to the council for approval, and those are stated. And then also our next meeting will be in October. There won't be one in September. So that was that. Any questions related to that? I could try.
Any question on the park?
I do have one question. Have you priced out your splash pad yet. How much is a splash pad? And I just want to tell everybody, that's the kind of thing that if we were really talking to each other, you'd say, hey, Kark, I need a splash pad.
Yeah, well, based on the number you said Kark has,
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
Can't cover it.
Not gonna do it. Hey, and that's just being honest. But, the information that I was given at that meeting puts a splash pad at roughly $350,000. But there's grants to be obtained, there's monies within this community, as we discussed at the last meeting, people who are willing to give for the right reasons. And so, it's just a matter of, whether we really want it bad enough as a city or not. I think that we do need something like that, but the vision was anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000, depending on exactly what it does and how its, concept is laid out. Again, many people will say that's too much, in my opinion, but then there's also many people that say there could be much more poor ways to spend that money. So that was kind of the gist of that, and there's quite a layout there that was presented at the meeting, and I do believe it's readily available to all, laying out other things related to the Bennett Park and the upgrading there. So, yep. I do think that's a large number, but at the same time, like I say, we can waste money much larger than that at times.
Yeah, in Lincoln Park, or the new park that's across, at the Sled Hill, where the hockey rink was before, and the boards. I understand buying the boards is like major cost, and I think I'd spoken to the previous DPW director about that. But my question is whether or not we could try to convert that concrete pad and put up some basketball hoops so that it can be used for that. So I'd like to throw that out for.
Yeah, I could take it back to them, and we can make sure that it gets to Stephanie in that regard. But mostly, it's just a matter of utilizing the space. There's basketball hoops that have been envisioned in other parks also, and then some things with that particular space you're speaking of that I'm not sure. We just kind of kicked around. We'll let Stephanie weigh in on it, because that way I don't misspeak myself.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if, when looking into the splash pad, if there was any cost analysis done for maintenance, and then, of course, what it cost to, run the water? Does that put any pressure on our water infrastructure? Were those things all discussed?
I asked a couple of those questions, and there was an option for recyclatory setup, which would use the water. There's some aspects related to the disinfectant of it. But yeah, it's still in its infancy. It was discussed. It's a good question, I believe, and I asked that. But I think it's one of those things that, sure, we can overthink it to the point where we say no, and we can let Stephanie weigh in because she's talked with the engineers related to it. But the biggest thing is just finding the money. And once the money's found, well, then the sky's the limit on what we do with it.
Okay. Now that brings us to the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to pull the claims and expenditures into the business agenda. I've got a question, just for my own education and knowledge.
We'll make that D then in the business agenda. And take it out of the consent. Anything else anybody wants? We'll proceed with the consent agenda. Motion, all those in favor of approving the two left, the one is I guess we should let people know, the resolution updating the Camp Francis bylaws, and that's been reviewed by them and the attorney. And a resolution to rename the sledding hill to the Johnson Foundry Park. For those of you who don't know, the Johnson Foundry is what was there years ago. We used to visit it about twice a year for fires. But it was a cast iron place. They made all kinds of heavy weights, like you see on the back of Link Belts and Fork Trucks, and it was a huge company. There was a big mess out back, and I think it was $2 or $3 million cleanup that the city got back then to get that cleaned up, and that's when you got the sledding hill. So they're just renaming it so they don't have to talk about the sledding hill. They can talk about the Johnson Foundry Park is what it would be. All those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to the business agenda. We have a request to approve the ClearFlow LLC as the city's enterprise asset management platform and prepay the 5-year subscription in the amount of $130,738.05. And I'm pretty sure that would come out of the, most of it would come out of Water and Sewer Fund. Motion.
To approve.
There's a
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Rodriguez.
Can you help me understand why, like, asset management isn't something that we could do in-house? Why we particularly need, like, a company to do that?
We'll bring the DPW director right up here and she can answer those questions for you. That's why she's here.
So, does everyone recall when we had ClearFlow come and give a presentation? I don't know, a couple months ago. So, my answer to that is because we don't have the technology. So that technology, ClearFlow in particular, is GIS based, and so all of their app, as you'll call it, all integrates with our GIS. So it's also a work order system. So let's say Brandon, the superintendent down at the DPW, says, I want to look at these 26 hydrants on this section of town, okay? He's going to go in there, he's going to highlight them, and he's going to send out work orders for the DPW workers or water utility workers to go out and fix whatever's wrong with these 26 hydrants. As the workers are going through and fixing a said hydrant, the software prompts them to answer, okay, basically, what was wrong with it, what was fixed, take photos, all of those things, right? And as they're documenting that into their app, it's auto-relaying that into our GIS. So at any point in time, I can go back and I can look at that fire hydrant and see when they fixed it and what was fixed. And that's not just fire hydrants, that's flushing mains. Let's say we have a sewer backup at your house. Well, when can I go and look and tell you the last time we flushed that sewer main out in the road? I can't, because we don't have the software to track that stuff. On a piece of paper, sure. On an Excel sheet, sure. But that's not realistic when the line of work that we're doing. I mean, it's everything. Cleaning out manholes, all things. We can get into trees. We can get into the maintenance, the equipment at the parks, the maintenance on those, when they were last, when did we last have somebody come in and check if they're actually suitable to have in the ground? All these things that we're not doing, and I think it's really a liability as well. We can't, if somebody came in here and said, I'm gonna sue you because you're the reason why my sewer backed up, because your line out there was plugged. Okay, well, I'm gonna go right to my GIS and I'm gonna say, well, the last time we flushed that line was 1 week ago. And then we went out and checked it after that, and there was no plugs in the sewer. So it's also a CYA in my mind, but it's also a tool for the city, one, to have everything in a GIS layer, and two, for the DPW and water and wastewater department to be organized.
Does it keep track of parts and expenditures too?
Does it keep track of what?
Parts and expenditures, you go out and do, I mean,
I don't know
how
that.
end to end is it?
I don't know that, actually. So I do know, like, all of our water parts, right? Like all of our bends, our T's, our meters, all that. We actually will inventory that. I don't know if it will come with a price, but I would assume it does, because I think when I was talking to them at the end of the year, we'll be able to easy pull that, and it'll associate a price with, like, you have $1 million in meters sitting out in the armory or whatever. So all of that kind of inventory will go into it. They'll all have QR codes.
Mr. Chin.
what is the advantage of paying 5 years in advance? Do we get a discount or?
Yeah, we get a discount, and we don't get that inflation. I think it's 2 or 3% we'd have to pay every single year if we didn't pay it up front. So, and when we start in with an asset management program like this, I'm not gonna go into it 1 year and turn around. We're all hands in. It's probably gonna take us every bit of a year or two, I think, to really get it down, getting everything in there, getting Brandon, getting Matt all on the same page of how to use the work order system. And I mean, they should be able to schedule the guys out for an entire year with that system. They'll never come to work and not know what they have to do, because it can be pre-scheduled out for them.
Are there provisions in what happens if they just can't get it done? Are there provisions for us to be able to get our money back, or?
What do you mean they can't get it done?
I've seen a lot of failed IT contracts in my lifetime.
They gave us a broken down step by step of how long it was going to take to implement and stuff like that. And there's other cities, like the city of Grand Rapids, the city of, I can't think of it, it's like right outside of Grand Rapids. They were just implemented there. Holland BPW, which I've talked with a lot. So I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
Mr. Christensen.
And I'm going to ask, because I think I got it right, but I want to be sure. This is a system that when we have a part or something in our system that has a 10-year warranty, that when that 10-year warranty's up, it's going to let you know we need to replace that part rather than letting it become an emergency. It's kind of a PM plan as well.
Yeah, I think when I had, and I'm trying to remember because I asked so many questions, but I think I did have a particular conversation with him about the meters, because that's a big thing, right? And even though we're replacing half of the meters, we still have meters that are gonna start aging. And I asked him if it would like red alarm us when we're due for like this section of meters needs to be redone. And he said, yeah, that we could basically, it'll keep track of it for us. And then we can basically pull the section of meters, and then same like I said before, Brandon can say, okay, or whoever the water superintendent can say, okay, we've got these 100 meters, I want you guys from June to November or whatever time, they should be able to do that in a month, but June to July to change out these meters. And then that will also, so it also integrates with BSNA too. So everything integrates with BSNA as well. So I think as stuff is updating in there, we'll also update in ClearFlow.
Okay, so
It'll all be like one thing together.
it's certainly, I think we've all found out over the last couple of years, it's a lot less expensive for us to replace that part when we can do it on our time rather than on emergency time. So,
Yeah, yeah.
thank you.
As just over the last few years of me being here, we've integrated a lot of different software, and it seems to me that it would take staff, a lot of time to utilize and use this software that tracks all this information. And I just have a small business, I'm not running a city, but, I've bought many programs that ideally I thought would be great, but implementing them all, you think that there's not going to be a problem with the implementation and people actually having the time to spend loading all the data and information, that in the long run, it's going to ultimately save time? What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I went through the demo and it's very simple. I'll say that. Like somebody who's never used a tablet before, because that's essentially what it will be, right? Out in the field, which they're already working with tablets. It'll be tablet. They'll be right on their tablet, and it's just a prompt. So like somebody that's never used a tablet before, that's not tech savvy, it's so simple that you can't mess it up. Like here's the box, click it, and it gives you the options of what you put in there. So I'm not worried on that aspect. What was the other question?
That's just about the efficiency. Like, is it going to slow people down, or do you think it'll ultimately save more time, or just a net equal?
I don't really know if it'll slow people down or save more time. I think it's a net equal. I think it's more along the lines of we're gonna start tracking what we do.
I'm just wondering if there's gonna be, in a few months, oh, we need to add staff members, we need to add bodies in order to get all this information in there.
No, this just pairs along with daily routine activities.
I don't know. I think when your presentation was presented to us, there was a hesitation, if I'm not mistaken. We were even considering like telling the person we didn't have time to watch their presentation. And I had intently watched and listened to the presentation. My business lines up with what the city does here quite well. I did a lot of paper early on and shuffling a bunch of things and like, oh, I just was nearby and I couldn't do what I could have done if I'd known that the job was next door. And with what you guys are doing, it seems as if, yeah, Brandon may be the superintendent there. However, any person ought to be able to take the tablet and do the information in at the time of need. And with the ability with the QR codes, as it was explained during the presentation, anything could be given a QR code and then could be tracked through whatever information is needed. But I think that it, based on what I'm seeing, seems like, sure, we can keep doing the way we've been doing it. And honestly, there's really no way we couldn't be wasting time doing it the archaic way and not moving into the 20-plus century to the point where we are able to go back and look at the information at any given time. Because there's always the possibility of a turnover, and then you have the luxury of information be retained in a software package or the unfortunate loss of an employee or any other way. At least we have that data instead of a file cabinet full of stuff that we don't know where it's at, including our last discussion, which that information's probably clearly there, but we just don't know where to find it yet. So I think it's kind of one of those things that if our director within the staff says that that's what we should do, and we've been told that this is one of the best software packages around, we're going to find out. But I do believe we need to make sure that they're accountable, that they actually are making what they said they're going to make. And they said they were going to assist with the implementation too, I believe, during the presentation. So it's not on staff or any person within the city. It's on them to also help input the data, which is pretty awesome, really. I mean, rather than here it is, figure it out. So that's my thought.
Is there a designated time? Is there a training module that comes when you're implementing all this? Or
Yeah, I don't have it right on me or off the top of my head, but I think we were basically 6 weeks, and then we're up and running.
Okay.
So, and then you might have to help me along a little bit here. Chief Fullerton is very excited about this software because there's something to do with our ratings where we can't get to the number we want to rate at to lower people's taxes because we don't have the trackable software for the fire hydrants. And so this software is going to change that rating, Kevin, whatever that is, and make it a higher number? And how?
Lower number. It's
Make a lower number, okay, yeah.
Insurance Service Offices
There you
rating.
go, yep.
So we can get to a 2 if we get this done, and that
Yep.
doesn't lower your taxes at all. It would lower the price you pay for fire insurance,
Insurance.
homeowners policy,
Yeah.
business policy.
That's the one that just recently improved, like
We went
a
to
year or
3.
two ago or something like that. Okay.
Yep. Any other question for Stephanie while she's up?
Yeah, we've forgotten, we do have a motion on this, right? Okay.
I don't know.
It's definitely, are other departments able to submit work orders? So say if Alicia gets a call, is she able to go into the software and, say, we got a call about this, and then the department is able to facilitate the work order? Is that the way it works, or is?
I don't know. I feel like we could probably set her up with a user, but I don't necessarily know if I want other people creating work orders for the department that have no idea what's going on. So,
Well,
I use it's called a CMMS in the facilities management world, so that's exactly what this is. You can have users that can put in a work request. It's not a work order, but it goes in as a work request. It goes to the approving supervisor, manager, and then they create the work order and, assign that to whoever the technician is. It does have an inventory control, module, the one that I use. You can track costs, so if you got an air compressor that goes down, you can go in and say, okay, I've replaced this, that, and the other thing, and these are the costs, and it'll, you can set it up with your purchasing system to write POs to certain vendors. This thing is, it's limitless and it's cloud-based, so you don't have to worry about server space and, all of that kind of stuff, as well. So, and then once the technician's out there, they're doing, their thing, they can close out the work order. It'll, upload and, all the information. You can run history reports, you can put PMs out there, all of that kind of stuff. And it can be for vehicle maintenance and, whatever equipment you got out there, so.
Okay. Questions are all answered. We'll call a vote from the clerk.
Fullerton,
Yes.
Chin,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Brumman.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. That brings us to flock camera use and policy discussion, information attached provided by Councilmember Christensen. There's two ways you can do this. Again, if we want to get this discussion, because the chief is here, and nobody objects to it, we can do it that way and without a motion. Other than that, we need a motion to bring it on the floor to have discussion. So it's up to you guys. Doesn't matter to me.
I'm open to whatever.
All right, I'll just make the motion. Motion to discuss flock camera use and policy information. Oh, that's it, yeah.
Second.
Okay, so the motion's going to be, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion. Have at it.
Questions for Chief? Since the adoption of the flock cameras, how many incidents have had assistance with the flock cameras? And can you give us some examples of the incidents where they helped?
I don't have that specific number in front of me tonight. I can tell you it's been quite a few. Some of the successes we've had, missing elderly dementia patient out of Clinton County was found here in Meyer. Our stolen vehicles that we've recovered has gone up dramatically. Stolen vehicles, stolen plates. Some of the investigations we've used them on, assault complaints, we would have never located the suspect if we didn't have them. And that took minutes instead of hours and days of investigation. So that's a handful of them that I can pull off the top of my head for you.
Okay. If we suspend, are we obligated for any reoccurring costs with flock?
I don't know. I'd have to take a look into that contract a little bit deeper. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
And how many complaints or protests have the police department or city hall received since the start of the cameras?
I have not received any.
Okay. City hall? I would imagine maybe the clerk's office?
I haven't received any complaints.
Okay. The cameras went into, I believe they were approved September 9th. The council approved it of 24 or 25?
24, I believe.
Yeah, 24. So currently, how many flock cameras? I know that the recommendation was, I think, for 14 or so, and we only bought.
Yeah, we only have 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what's currently in operation?
That is correct.
And did we approve additional cameras not too long ago?
No, we renewed the 8.
Okay.
Because we did a 1 year, and then we renewed it.
Mm-hmm. The other question is, I know that there are other, not flock surveillance, but other surveillance cameras that are currently being used. Couple of questions. Where are they being used? where are they located? Are there policies written for their use? And how much has that cost us? And are there any reoccurring costs to have those?
The only other cameras we have are obviously within City Hall, and there are some in the parks. And the ones in the parks, I don't know what those costs were. I didn't have any part of putting those in the parks.
Is the DPW, do you have that information? How many
costs?
surveillance cameras do we have in the parks?
There's 4, if I'm correct.
I got 2 at Dean, 1 at Bennett, and 1 at Lincoln.
Okay. And is there, what was the cost of those cameras, and are there any reoccurring costs with those?
Yeah, I think the camera's a piece for like a couple $100, and then the reoccurring cost I think is like $600 a year.
Okay. Per camera for the total amount? And do we have a policy how that information is used?
No, but we're not really taking information from it. The only time we ever look on the cameras is if there's vandalism in the bathroom.
Okay.
Mr. Christensen.
I just prepared a short statement, and I appreciate council taking the time to look at this. I've spent a lot of hours reviewing through this and looking throughout our state amongst all the communications that I've received, which continue. But if I may, just a short statement. Mayor and council, I just want to put tonight's discussion into a little broader perspective, because Charlotte is certainly not alone in dealing with questions surrounding the flock camera system. Across Michigan, communities are actively reviewing how these systems are used, what safeguards are in place, and whether stronger policies are needed. In fact, at this very moment right now, the Lansing City Council is considering a resolution calling for the city to end their flock camera contracts and conduct a public privacy review before entering into any new automated license plate reader agreement. That discussion is taking place amid significant public pressure and as organized citizen concerns over privacy oversight and how the technology is being used. City of Port Huron is a very good example. City Manager Freed recently used interim restrictions regarding and governing flock use while the city works on a broad policy. Sterling Heights also actively debating additional safeguards and oversight. City of Westland decided not to renew its flock contract. They've removed their cameras. Oceana County stopped a planned trial after immediate community concerns. Waterford Township is having many of the same discussions. City of Grand Rapids took an even broader approach. Rather than limiting their policy to flock or automated license plate readers alone, they incorporated this technology into an extensive citywide policy governing the acquisition and use of all their surveillance equipment and surveillance services. City Manager Davis and I discussed the Grand Rapids approach last week, and I believe that broader model might be an opportunity for us to develop a solid policy. The Grand Rapids policy is broader than what Charlotte may initially need, but it's thorough and it gives us a strong example of how it could work. Also at the state level, we have 2 bills in the Michigan House. We have another in the Michigan Senate specifically dealing with automated license plate reader technology. Those bills did not move to the forefront because this issue isn't unimportant. They're there because there are legitimate questions that exist regarding access, how long data is held, is that data being shared, accountability, privacy, and constitutional protections. At the same time, I want everyone to understand why I supported our investment into flock cameras in the first place. I believe they're a legitimate public safety tool. I truly do. Flock gives law enforcement additional ways to identify and locate vehicles without unnecessarily disrupting the general public. In some situations, it can help officers avoid dangerous high-speed pursuits altogether. If we can apprehend a subject while reducing the chance that an innocent motorist or pedestrian or bystander is seriously injured or killed, that is a very important public safety benefit. And again, I want to be clear. In fact, I want to be crystal clear. I have no reason to believe whatsoever that the Charlotte Police Department in any way, shape, or form has misused our flock system in any way. Chief Brentire has reported consistently to us some of the things that the department has been able to accomplish because of the flock cameras, and those have been positive public safety results. I have no reason not to trust our police department. Our officers are dedicated to serving our citizens, and nothing in what I am proposing should be interpreted as criticism of them or lack of confidence in their professionalism. My concern is not that we have flock cameras. My concern is that we have the technology and we don't have a comprehensive city-level policy that establishes the legal and constitutional guardrails for its use. The rights of our citizens matter. Public safety matters. Protecting our officers matters. And protecting the city from unnecessary legal exposure matters. But those things should not be competing with one another. I will be pressing for Charlotte to establish a public flock transparency portal. Flock provides a public-facing portal that can make information such as our policies, camera count, data retention, and the list goes on available for public review. If our citizens have an interest in how this technology is being used, I believe they should be able to see it clearly what the rules are, what safeguards are in place, and how the system is being administered. Transparency builds trust, and I believe that should be part of any comprehensive policy that we adopt. Technology has simply moved faster than policy. It's that simple. I believe our city functions much better when we work together and we choose to be proactive rather than reactive. It is far better to identify a potential problem, put sensible safeguards in place, and protect everyone involved before we are forced to respond to a complaint, a misuse of the system, or a lawsuit after the fact. That's why I believe the responsible course is to temporarily suspend the operational use of the flock system while we develop, conduct legal reviews, and formally adopt a comprehensive and sensible flock and surveillance policy. It's not about getting rid of flock. I fully support flock. It's simply about making sure that when we use the technology, we use it under clear, transparent, defensible, and constitutional rules that protect our officers, protect our city, and protect the rights of the citizens that we serve. Thank you.
You know, we've had this discussion a number of times in my short time sitting in this seat. And it's been brought up by a number of different people that I speak with on a regular about the fact that you're carrying around a device that tracks your every move at every second of every day. So long as you take it with you, if you choose to leave it behind, then all of a sudden it's, 1985 again, and you might actually be an individual and not part of the entire system. But I do believe that also, as Mr. Christensen pointed out, I understand us to be a policy-making board. That's kind of what we were supposed to come here for, and every meeting that we come to, it's approval of paying bills, which is part of our deal too. I don't believe we've made a whole lot of policy in the short time that I've been here. We discussed a lot of policies that don't exist, policies that should exist, and I think that we are in a time when watching over things is actually beneficial. We have people who have cameras on their house so things don't get stolen. But did things get stolen before? Or did you just fear that maybe somebody might? Or did you fear that somebody might get into your home and then you wouldn't know who it was even though they already took your stuff? And then we talk about the fact that people have been abducted. People have been abducted, unfortunately, for a long time. And unfortunately, it used to be the milk carton that traced the young kids who hopefully were found and we don't know if they ever were or aren't. But now we have the ability to track whether things actually are successful, such as the flock. If the flock finds a license plate and it finds an elderly person who was abducted or a child or a stolen piece of property, we can actually say, yes, it's successful. But when we don't talk about the success rate, we don't know whether the investment is actually worthy or not. When we talk about, well, it has the ability to do this, and it goes into a database far larger than the city of Charlotte, and then it's possible that something from Indiana ends up in the city of Charlotte and then is found, but we don't discuss that. We don't discuss that something from the city of Charlotte is then found in Indiana, and I don't care who has it. I just know that they found it, and it belongs to somebody that not them. But what I'm getting at is, I think there are places where we could benefit from more of that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be flock, though. It should be us on our own. We should be working on doing what we need to do in this city, and then beyond that, trying to help out all those other places. So the fact that I only hear that we have a few cameras, but we had vandalism that cost taxpayers money to fix bathrooms and other assets within the city. I think that's kind of sad that we're behind the 8 ball there. There are places that use trail cameras, but we have live cameras. We have the ability to record them, but we don't have to review them unless we need to. We have many occurrences that may happen on Cochrane, Lawrence. Could be as simple as an assault that wasn't actually viewed by anyone but that camera. But if we had a policy in place that allowed for that to happen, and we had people that are not misusing that at the city level, but we have the ability to watch over those things, I think it has some benefits. I know I've been to parking lots where there's portable units set out there that the police have put out there in a parking lot where they think that something may happen, blue flashing light on it, recording a camera at all times. And I feel like, hey, I'm sort of safe here. At least if I'm no longer living, they'll know who did it, you know? Whereas if we don't have a policy for the cameras that are in the parks, possibly, if we didn't actually have our own policy above and beyond or equal to whatever Flock brought to us for the city, then if we have a misuse or potentially a benefit, we really don't know what that is. We just know that we had a policy handed down from Flock on how they weren't going to, and then somebody at a far reach potentially has access to information that a license plate passed through our city, such as what we hear about, whether it's hearsay or not, that somebody, far reaches, got to see the license plate pass through our city and that car was present here. Even if our departments are doing exactly what they're supposed to, it reaches outside of our city, as I'm understanding it. And please correct me if I'm incorrect, but in addition to that, I do believe we need to talk about implementation of a policy that spells it out, that we can review and do what we're here to do, a policymaker.
Right, just to reiterate, keep the discussion on Flock, because that's what we're discussing. Cameras from the parks and all that would be another,
Right. I promise, keep it on Flock.
keep it on Flock.
So I've been studying Flock for 2 years now since my vote that I've basically regretted. Especially the more I know, the more my problem is not with the technology or what it does. My problem is actually with Flock. Flock has, has legally been proven to not be up to the thing it says it would do, which is we're only going to hold your information for 30 days. We have plenty of examples that you can just get at there. Any one of you can get at that information pretty amateurishly online anytime you want it. They're not just holding it. My question is, Chief, can you stop Flock from knowing what you know? The entire Flock network. When you input into it, everybody in the network knows. Correct? For 30 days.
Correct, if they are shared with us.
Well, if you're in the Flock, this is the grievance, the general national grievance is that if you're in the network, you're just flat out in the network, no matter how big you think that network is, Flock knows how big it is, and their whole quarterly profits rely on that network growing exponentially on a quarterly basis. So they need more information, more cameras, because they're such a young company that they're still, what's keeping them alive is their initial investment, which is you promised to give us all this information on Americans. We don't have it all yet. So my question is, where they're running into trouble is Anybody has access to this information despite what they say. And the 30 days is BS. And if you know it, they know it, and the people who pay for Flock, their initial investors, know that information, and that is what this is about. It's a Fourth Amendment right to privacy. Know every move you make because of the car you drive, everywhere you could possibly go.
Yeah, I can't speak to what Flock does on their side of things,
Well,
because I don't know. I obviously don't work for Flock.
famously, they check on the whereabouts of their former wives. This is what they're being busted for publicly. The actual members of the board of Flock and chiefs of police who happen to have use of the cameras and grievances with their former wives. This is what they're being used for, and why people are so angry.
Well, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Anger.
And that what we saw was a salesman.
Yeah. There are discipline policies to go with that. It's no different than lien policy, right? We have lien policies where we have access to criminal histories, and if that gets misused, then there's discipline policies for that as well. And have officers misused that before? Well, absolutely. I'm sure our city attorney can attest to how many guys he's known that have misused lien too. So
Doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Absolutely doesn't.
Are you raising your hand? No.
Said in previous meetings, everything I think already.
Okay. Well, I studied this pretty hard too. And I think what I'm hearing here, I mean, there's people against the whole Flock system. But what I'm disturbed about is that we were told, and I assumed, at a February 23rd meeting by our city manager, because somebody asked the question, it wasn't me, but somebody asked the question, is there a policy regarding Flock? And he said he went and checked and says his response was to follow up to a question from council at the last meeting and states that the answer was yes, we do have a policy. And so the minutes show that Chief Ben Rentar actually discussed the policy with the council. I think you just updated on how it works, but the official minutes say that he told the council, which was us, and I don't remember all these words, but this is what it says, that the policy was adopted before installation.
Correct.
So who adopted what policy?
So as a departmental policy, I created a policy in October.
So who adopted it then?
I did as the department head.
So it didn't come to like,
It did not come to a council.
and that's what I think that's where I got snookered on, is that it was adopted. Anything that's adopted is done by the council that I know of. So so this was in the March meeting. So it never was adopted by the council. Let's get that straight. There is no policy adopted by this council.
No.
I assume,
It is a internal departmental policy.
and I know you've asked before.
Yeah, I was the one that asked in February if there was a policy in place for the Flock cameras.
Nobody's ever seen it other than you?
And the rest of the department, all the officers.
The officers see it then?
Yeah.
And then is that,
Yeah. It's no different than if we have to come out with a new foot chase policy or.
but there's some that Mr. Freed is sharing his online policy that he is making. And sharing it online so everybody can see what that policy says and what, if there's a violation, it says they're fired, I think, instantly.
Sure.
I mean, do we have a policy like that?
Yeah, it's part of the policy. Discipline is part of the policy. Absolutely.
But see, I don't know. I just assumed that was a council policy. I assumed the council adopted it whenever it was installed before me. So I didn't pay enough attention, I guess, to what adopted means, but when I went through those minutes, that becomes a real issue. That's a real issue for me, is that, to me, the camera shouldn't even be used if we don't have a policy adopted by the council? I think maybe our attorney can answer the question is, I mean, are we not setting ourselves up for liability if we don't have a policy? The way I read Flock says we're supposed to have one.
Number one, I haven't read the contract, and I asked for that recently, so I will review it. We are reviewing the current policy that was adopted by the department in October of 2024. So that type of policy, I would say, is due for a review, and that is underway right now. I would say that public safety policies that are department policies or even DPS policies are not generally before a council. A council adopts like overall city policies. So this one here is specific to the department, and then there's other policies that are like citywide that would be the use of cameras citywide that most certainly should come before the council. I can't be critical of the chief for not having this one in front of the council because they have a number of operating procedural type of policies, as well as I'm sure the fire department does, as well as DPS and things like that. So this one particularly has gathered a lot of national attention. I think it needs to be part of a broader, in my opinion, part of a broader use of cameras in the city. But this policy right now, I'm not prepared to say one way or another. I've read it once. Things don't strike me as being unlawful, but we are doing a review on it right now in conjunction with the contract that was approved. So that's my position.
In your opinion, then, using the Flock cameras in this city is not a liability for us whatsoever.
I think when you capture things that are in the public domain, I have not found through legal research yet that that's a liability if it's in the public domain. If you've got these cameras that are in a non-public area, in other words, by example, I wouldn't put these in a restroom, okay? But if you have them loose in a park, I know other jurisdictions I represent have these in parks. It's capturing the public domain, and I can tell you definitively they have videoed alleged crimes that are under prosecution right now.
Then further with that, I might ask the chief that, so what's in this policy that we can't see? What is there that's so drastic that we can't as a council set up here and say, looks good, looks bad, whatever? I don't understand what the big deal is. I would think, here's the policy, approve it, and we're good to go.
I would say this, I'll answer that question.
Okay.
I looked at it and I can't see anything under FOIA that I would cause to have it redacted. In other words, I don't see a specific.
So could anybody FOIA this?
My understanding is it is under FOIA, and that's in discussion with the chief right now.
And when we, people that run the city,
I cannot see a
haven't seen
reason
it
to
yet.
redact this policy, Mayor. So if the mayor and the council members want a copy of it, I see no issue with being able to deliver that.
Mr. Brummel.
I'm glad we're having the discussion, because that's what we're supposed to do. But if it's under FOIA right now, that means that somebody had a problem with it, which means that the clerk either was notified of it, the city manager was notified of it, or the chief of police was notified that somebody had a problem with Flock. And I think the question was just asked in front of all of us, did anybody have a problem? The clerk said no. I believe the city manager said no. The chief of police said no. So either one of you three actually have a problem with Flock, but if there's a FOIA request right now, then you clearly just stated that somebody FOIA'd this information as to the policy. If it happens to be one of these council members, so be it too, but you just were telling us that no one had a problem with it yet. My problem is that you also just stated you wouldn't put a Flock camera, if I'm not mistaken, because I was told don't worry about the other cameras. We're talking about Flock. You wouldn't put a Flock camera in the bathroom, or you wouldn't put a camera in the bathroom, because we're not supposed to talk about cameras. We're supposed to be talking about Flock. So first off, it's clearly been identified on multiple occasions, again, in my presence on this council, there's an issue with Flock. Policy. We are a policy-making board. If you're going to make a policy, I would suggest, if the policy is not going to have to be redacted, that it come before this council to be reviewed. Whether it's something should or shouldn't be personnel-driven, then we would be advised by the city attorney that we shouldn't be reviewing it because we don't need to, because it's something outside of what we review as policymakers, if I'm not mistaken. But when we implement a policy for something outside of the city, such as FLOC, again, we're focused on FLOC, we should probably know what their policy is first, and I don't have that information. However, maybe I'm just not looking far enough. And when we implement it into our city, we should make sure that it fits exactly what we desire, and either better than that, or we say, okay, this is okay for us. That's my understanding as what we're supposed to do as a council, is implement policy, review policy, and then make sure that we're not in a legal loophole that our attorney hasn't invited us against, because we always have the opportunity to say, you know what, you work for us, but we're going to do something else. Laying the bed that we're going to, or making the bed we're going to lay in. But it seems as if, and I'm asking, are you speaking on the FLOC camera being put in the bathroom, or are you speaking about cameras and a policy related to that being in a bathroom?
Cameras. So what we're talking about here is licensed readers.
Okay.
Right? So the policy that I've been given to review recently is the license plate readers. It's not an overall citywide type of use of cameras.
Okay, good, because we're focused on the FLOC aspect right
We're focused on the FLOC, and I was not made aware of any complaints about the cameras. And respectfully, I don't consider a FOIA to be a complaint. I consider those to be a search for information, right? And so in meeting with the chief, and again, we have to kind of tenure what that is, that's being reviewed, and I expect to be responded to this week. But my initial review is I don't see anything in the policy that I would recommend redaction of. And that being the case, anybody could have access to it. I do not see a redaction in the policy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just from my time here, I don't feel like, you already know how I feel about cameras. I'm against the FLOC cameras altogether, so you guys all know that already. But I don't really feel like a department policy, I think one, we should be able to see it, which it sounds like he said he would just give it to us, so it sounds like we just have to ask for it. And then the other thing is, a policy like this, I don't feel like is something our board would be traditionally doing. It's a department policy on how to handle the software. They have endless pieces of software and other things. So I'm not sure this is, I wouldn't want to see this policy on my desk for approval, is what I'm saying. I think that would be getting into the weeds further than we needed. And then from our meeting with the chief, it did seem to me that he presented it as just an internal policy. But, there was a lot of information at this, a lot of people were asking questions. So, I can understand why there'd be confusion, but it just sounds like when you look at the policy, if we want to look at it. But I do believe in that meeting, we asked very specific questions about the policy around the cameras, and he had things like additional identifiers, because I had brought to him specific cases of concern I had, and more than just allowing the cameras to read it by themselves. So I don't like the cameras, no, but I think from what I've heard from different people up here, I think on our own fault, we mixed up what we thought we were hearing, and I wouldn't put that on the chief or anyone. I would just get clarification. If you need it, message him. And I think we can probably move on. That's what I think, but.
Mr. Christian.
Just one, first up, I say just before the meeting, I had a chance to visit with Chief Brentar, Attorney Revore, and City Manager Davis, and I appreciated that meeting. Chief Brentar, you had given, I didn't write it down, I didn't have a quick enough pen. You had given me a list of what these readers pick up. And would you repeat that list? I'm just, I'm curious, I just don't recall it all.
Sure. Stolen cars, stolen plates, anybody with felony warrants that are wanted nationwide, and then Amber Alerts, or silver alerts.
But that's based on the license plate.
That is just based on a license plate.
To pick up the color of the car,
It'll pick up the color of the car.
the kind of car,
Yep.
so it picks all that up too then. And that's where we hear that Flock or whatever is in the business of determining how many white cars go by so they know what to sell to the car companies. That's what we're talking about.
Well, I've heard reports of different things like that in the past, but I don't know what Flock does with their data at this point. You know, it just depends on who you believe.
Well, you can tell there's issues here. So do you have I'll ask you, do you have a solution to what you're hearing up here?
I don't have an end-all solution for you. I think it's either you believe they're a valuable tool and they work, or you don't. And I'm not gonna tell you how to feel about them. I mean, you obviously.
I don't think everybody's doing that. I don't think it's yes or no for Flock. How they're being operated. Do we have in my opinion is, do we have a policy? If there's an adopted policy by the council, I'm fine.
Yeah.
If there isn't, I'm not fine.
Yeah, there's a departmental policy.
So that's not gonna serve me.
So.
Go ahead, Mr. Brummett.
Well, I'm just curious, I mean, these departmental policies, are they not something throughout other municipalities that are actually easily viewed to the public at any given time without having for a FOIA? Is there a reason why that policy, it's not, and maybe your policy goes into all the things, like you said, implementation of disciplinary actions. Well, it would normally, in my way of thinking, it'd say, this incident would review back to our disciplinary policy. We wouldn't see the disciplinary policy, but we would understand that you would have to have access to those other things. But a Flock policy and how that implements on its own would be its own entity, would be viewable to the public because it's been pushed into the public. And most of these people have no idea. And they can come and ask you, sure. I asked you, I saw it firsthand. But then at the same time, we understand what we understand. Sure, it can see a car and the color. Well, can it see the make? Is it possible that it can slowly adapt? Even though we know what we know, Flock does their own thing. All of a sudden now it's a four-door car. It knows it's four doors. It's not just a red car with a license plate such and such. It knows it's a Malibu, not a Cavalier. That's outside of your control. But at the same time, our policy says, we're not allowing it to do all of this stuff. Sorry, you guys just messed it up. But if you stayed within your lane with what you first laid out, we're all in. But I mean, your policy, having no idea what it is, it sounds like it focuses on disciplinary actions. Well, that's what police officers are supposed to do, serve and protect. I mean, they're not supposed to be doing the wrong thing with it anyways. So we really don't need to know what you do about those people because that's what their job is, right? But understanding Flock and understanding what Charlotte says it's okay with and what you, as the department head, said you were okay with, we don't need to worry about what you're going to do about it, just what you're okay with. So I think it should be out on the webpage. I mean, our webpage is advanced now. Put more stuff out there that the people want to know so they can go, oh, look at this is what we said we're okay with because our department head said that or the council adopted the policy. And I understand some of the council members up here saying, we don't need to do that. Well, we also didn't have Flock before we had it. And now it sounds like it's possible that even if you want to do what you're supposed to, someone out there might be doing what they're doing, and we're being affected by that. I'm sorry, I come back to it again, though.
This is technical. Is there any way Flock can do this without knowing all the information in all 50 states Department of Transportation? You've got to get to a person and a license plate, from a license plate. The complaint really against them, so it is Flock's policy not to give information for ICE, to ICE, and it seems that this is not true.
Yeah,
Saginaw being the last example. And all you have to do, if you have this information, is say, Just give me all the names in the city of Montrose that end in E, or Montrose, I was just there, city of Charlotte that end in EZ. And you'll get everybody, ICE will get everybody they're looking for, and we'll be missing a council member in the 2 weeks from now. That's what just happened in Saginaw. This is why we don't like ICE. And the Saginaw mayor could say, oh no, our policy is completely against that, and you would have nothing to do with it. Because that information is just like, that's his license plate, it's just information I just fed to the world, right?
I can't speak to what Flock is doing on their backside of it.
Well, every day it seems to be darker and darker, and this is why we're here.
Well, if you want to use the cameras, we got to come up with something, at least from what I'm seeing, you're going to have to come up with some type of a policy that the council could approve, that we can hand out or put on the, I don't.
We can
If I was
do
in your
that.
shoes, it'd be real simple. Here's the policy, go ahead, prove it, and we're done.
I have no problem with that.
But see, that wasn't the case 2 weeks ago, or whenever he asked for the policy, the answer was no. Correct?
No, when my question was, is there a policy that governs the use of the flock? The answer was yes. I was satisfied with that.
So you were satisfied with that?
Yeah, because, again, if every departmental policy had to be a council-approved policy, I assure you that every department has their own set of policies. I mean, from, the personnel policies that we never approved, the policies on, when do you use your firearm? And, there's a policy about physical restraint on how you do it. There's policy on the fact that in DPW, you can't do this. If we're gonna jump in and have to approve every departmental policy that there is, then that means every department, I want all of their policies presented to council for review and approval. Why we're doing it just for the police department, especially when we have heard, but we have not had a single complaint filed about the use of the flock camera since they've been. Now, I don't disagree with the fact that if the council wants to start taking up departmental policies, I've got mixed emotion on that, but I don't think suspending the use of the flock cameras while we're doing that is a good idea, especially when the fact that it is and has helped with the fact that we don't have a huge number of police out there being able to watch, all of our roads and et cetera from that standpoint. This is just another tool that can be used by the police departments to locate, as we have heard, locate missing persons, located people, felony that have come through our city, that, we get them out of here. That's the business of police. But again, it's just to have a single policy of the department on flock and having council do a policy doesn't make sense to me when we have other departments and their policies.
And I would disagree with you on that one, because I think you're intertwining policies for department only. This is a policy that affects all of the citizens of Charlotte. So I think that's a little bit different than.
Well, we can agree to disagree from the standpoint of the fact that, the use of firearms affects the entire population. And we've never had that come in front of us. physical restraint policies, personnel policy for the city altogether. We haven't seen anything come to us about that. And those are constantly being updated, and I'm sure that the city
Point of order,
attorney
Mr. Mayor.
has looked at that.
Mr. Christensen, did you have a question?
Just, it's a lot to take in, it really is. It's a lot of information, and I say, based on some of what I've just heard, I certainly don't want to be out of my lane reaching into Chief Brentar's department, trying to encourage him to change or whatever policy. Whatever their interdepartment policy is their business. However, this body approved the funds to purchase those cameras. I tend to think that we hold some liability for those being out there, even though they're ran and managed by that department. I still think it falls on the city. If someone decides they're a little short of cash and they want to file a frivolous lawsuit or do something silly, even win, lose, or draw, a lawsuit still costs the city money. And I think by being proactive and developing a policy, and I think we can all do this together. We're not adverse. I think we all agree there's been some good things. We all agree there's been some bad things. But if we're going to do something positive, it's going to have to be done collectively. I don't see where any one or I think everything kind of gets started with our city manager here and deciding what we're looking at for a policy with regards to flock, if it's going to be individual or are we going to wrap it into a broader view. But I think we need to take a positive direction on it. I don't think at the end of the day we can all just argue with each other and then just walk away from it. We got to come up with something that lets the people know that we hear what they're saying, but we also want them to hear what we're saying of the good things that have came from them. People have a chance to come and comment and talk with us, and I hope they will do that. Respectful dialogue can go a long way, but we have to do something here. The legality part to me just drives me insane because I worry about liability every minute of every day. So, good, bad, or otherwise, that's how I feel.
Here's where we're at. We've discussed it. If somebody wants, we can do nothing. We can walk away because all we did was open discussion. Somebody can make a motion, however they want to make it. And we'll go to the next item on the agenda. Mr. Rund.
I'd like to make a motion that policies that are not interdepartmental, that actually apply to secondary aspects, such as this, in particular, we're speaking on flock, that aspect of it be visible to the public and those that view our website. After review from our city attorney, those types of things would, so that's my motion. I'm going to stop my motion right there.
Is there a second?
I guess I got to get that a little bit clearer. I didn't catch quite all of
I
it.
didn't either. Then we're going to go back to motion dies for lack of a second. So we can redo a motion or whatever you want to do.
I spent the better part of about 47 hours of research on this subject. I've reached out, I've read about every paper that I can find, every policy. Flock policy, for those that are even in the process of developing it, it's pretty readily available and easy to find out there. Our policy was not easy to find in any way, shape, or form. So that concerned me, and that's what brought this more so on to me.
There's a point of order. Mr. Burnett likes the point of order. There's a motion on the floor, and we're looking for a second. There's no discussion.
It died for lack of a second because I called.
So we're back to discussion of
Discussion, or somebody wants to make a motion? Or we'll-
I can't let this go. I have to make a motion that we look at a temporary suspension of this use, and we've got to get together and get some guardrails on this.
Okay, wait a minute.
That's my motion is
We got temporary use for how long?
temporary
Till
pause.
when or what?
To allow us to develop a policy / surveillance policy, whatever our city manager would direct us to go, to get to that point where we need, so we are good in the CYA department.
So you want to make a motion that says you temporary suspend FLAC use until a policy is established, or what?
I think we have to. I don't see any other choice. Yes. I don't see it.
Okay, is there a second to that?
Can I change a word from established to review?
That'd be up to him if he wants to change the motion.
Yes, I would change to that.
Right, because that's what we are really, if he agrees to that change, is
Yes, I would, yes.
right. Second,
So the motion is that we temporarily suspend the use of FLAC cameras until a policy for their use is reviewed,
yeah, until a policy review.
and you second it. Now there's discussion on that if you like that.
My issue is the suspension, number one, from that standpoint. And number two, I'm voting no because I think the city attorney should finish his review and give counsel back to council.
Maybe his review would be part of what we get back. I don't know.
And I could,
You can't add to your motion now.
Well, I think that, yeah, now we're questioning, which is valid, the attorney, and whenever the FOIA came about, which generated the potential review, which I understand prior to this motion and support, is actually occurring. So the review of the policy by this council, as I understood the motion and the support, again, here we are. We're going down, why didn't we do this beforehand? So simply because we're discussing this, this will generate something unrelated to FLAC, other policies and such. But really, that's where the public should know how we handle things, certain aspects, certain ways. It doesn't have to be discipline, but that's why we kick out information about how things occur. And the fact that we go down some rabbit hole of how the fire department may do this, or maybe the IT department that's up and coming, on how they may handle stuff. Well, yeah, because of them, we also have the ability to get the internet to those cameras and those other cameras. So we really need to kind of figure out those policies and why they're not readily available, and whether that's because of the fact that we've opened a legal loophole, or we're trying to keep one closed, or whatever that reason is. That's why public information is public information. And we're talking about public information of your license plate, the color of your vehicle, and such, but also how we handle that information. And I don't think we're undermining what our department head is doing. We're just saying, look out here and you can see what they will do with this. And these certain things are handled by them, how disciplinary. But this is what we do with the information, and this is what we allow to be done with the information. And the policy is this, and it's implemented by our department head without potentially council having a vote on it. But if we don't agree to it, then we can see it and say, okay, without requesting it from the department head, we'll put it out there. So that's kind of my thoughts on it is, if we suspend this and then something horrible happens, there's a legal loophole. That's a major problem. We've already had it on the place. Why didn't we do this beforehand? But if we were to suspend this and something happens, we've just got ourselves in hot water.
Probably goes the other way around too, though. If you you don't suspend it without a policy, you might get in the hot water too.
That's why we got an attorney, I think.
I don't, between your motion and your second, it said review, but I'm not sure by whom or what.
I think it needs a little tweak.
You can make amendment.
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment to my motion that the time that, when we suspend use, to give our attorney the time he needs to do a proper review to let us know that he's satisfied or if he's not satisfied
So the
with
motion,
things. So that way we're on the legal ball here, which is where I want to be.
got to make an amendment. I can't use all that lingo in there.
Okay. I want to make an amendment that review is
By the city
by
attorney.
the city attorney.
Is there a second to that?
I will second that amendment.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? That's only talking about the city attorney reviewing.
Are we having a time frame tied to this? I mean, right now, it could be Christmas of next year.
There is not.
Okay, I think, personally, I think that there needs to be amendment putting a timeline on it, but I'm not one who wants to, prioritize that right at the minute, so somebody ought to consider.
Let's deal with the amendment first, and you can make another amendment then.
The other question is, Mr. Rohr, are you understanding what kind of review that we're asking for?
My understanding of the motion is to suspend the use of flock cameras pending legal review. Okay? And I can't give you a timeline on that, sir. I wish I could, but I cannot. I represent multiple jurisdictions. We're reviewing this for multiple jurisdictions, and we're in 4 different counties on a court docket that I can't always control. We will not delay review. We've already started that. I do not have the contract with the vendor, so in part, I'd have to review that contract as well. And so I can't say by the next council meeting, our review will be done, because I can't predict my own life. It's wrapped up in the court systems in 4 different counties. I will say that we have already started doing that. And as of right now, the current policy that I've been given last week, I do not have the contract with the vendor. But what I've seen last week is I do not find under FOIA 15.243 redactions. In other words, I anticipate that policy being released to the FOIA requester. Now, I say I anticipate that, but I'm not the decision maker. Okay. You folks are, as well as your chief of police. As far as, how police policies and other policies should be posted, I don't want to give an opinion in here on that kind of a thing, because all those policies tend to be different. Some of our security issues, some are confidentiality issues, some are things that I just can't really speak to. And it'd be really hard, speculative, and hypothetical for me to do that.
So you got your answer on the attorney, but the answer is for him to review, and he can't give you a time frame. That's your amendment and your second. So we will proceed to vote on the amendment. That's nothing to do with the motion, just the amendment to motion that adds in the review by the attorney, but no time frame. Better do a roll call, because I don't want to have to count them.
Okay, Fullerton,
Yes.
Rodriguez. No. Newman,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Rummett,
No.
Chin,
Yes.
Amendment passes 5-2 then, correct?
yes.
So now we have a motion to suspend the use of the flock cameras until the attorney has reviewed it. During discussion on the motion as amended. Go ahead.
I have questions for the attorney, because
It's got to do with that motion.
that's right.
Okay.
So I wasn't the one that asked the question that you just responded to, but I appreciate that you did. I have the question as to your legal advice of the suspension of use of flock, being that we have a contract, we have a department head who believes in it, who understands that we are using it properly within the city. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of my statements. if we suspend the use while you're doing what you were already indicating you're doing prior to this meeting, is that legally advised or legally not advised in the event that we have something occur in this city that either is from another or however with the FLAC? What is your thoughts legally for this city?
I do not know what the vendor contract says, so if you discontinue the use, I do not know if that's a breach of the agreement, because I have not read the agreement. If you suspend the use of the camera, then it's hard to try to say what it could have prevented. You don't know this. If you continue the use of the camera, then I do not know if the city or the department understands if the FLOC vendor is commingling information coming out of this city versus other cities. Councilmember Scott, I think that's what you were trying to allude to, that the information gathered from this city is commingled with other information from other municipalities, right?
Correct.
I have no idea how that's working. So in principle, I think that the chief has answered, or at least tried to respond to the questions on the categories of it being used, right? Amber alerts, missing persons, things like that. So if the flat camera captures what's open to the public eye, that in itself, I do not believe in any type of violation. How that information is then synthesized and commingled elsewhere, I think that's part of the bigger national or controversy of what's taking place. So to suspend the policy or suspend the use of it, I don't know if there's a liability there beyond the breach of the agreement, but I'm also not familiar with any lawsuits that are pending for the use of that, and that's why I want to take a deeper look into what's going on with these policies and cameras. I'd like to be able to say, I'm going to have that back to you in 2 weeks. I'd like to be able to say that, but I'm not going to promise that because, again, my life is not my own when I'm in court 3 days a week. And that's not a cop-out. That's just the reality of it. I'd like to say we'll probably have something back within 30 days.
Any other discussion? Mr. Chris, or Newman?
Just in the suspension of these cameras, how are we gonna ensure that they're suspended? Are we gonna pull the data cable on them and
I have no idea.
broadcast transmissions anymore, or?
That's a phone call I'd have to start with tomorrow, and I would have no idea how that would even attempt to be done.
We got to stick with the motion as amended. Doesn't matter what's going to happen. That's,
Right, well, it's under suspension, so I was
well,
thinking.
that would be, but any other discussion on the motion as amended? We're going to take a roll call vote on the motion that says we are to suspend the use of the flat cameras until it's reviewed by the attorney.
Chin,
No.
Brummett,
No.
Fullerton,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
5-2? Okay. Next item on the agenda is discussion for police vehicle purchases.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve the police vehicle, or purchasing 2 vehicles with the money that was budgeted through the special assessment. Any discussion?
I was going to say, can we do that? It only says discussion here, doesn't,
Yeah, because we made a motion.
because it's, okay.
Any discussion? Go ahead.
Was there vehicles slated then? I mean, was there chosen vehicles for this?
We approved 2 vehicles when we did the special
Vehicles of
assessment. 2 new
whatever.
vehicles. They're Tahoes and police specials with the M deal, so that they don't have to be bid out, because the state of Michigan already does bid them out,
Yes.
and they come from dealers with all the police stuff on it. And according to what the chief wrote, they are available. And that was all part of doing the special assessment, so we could order them early.
Can I ask another question as it relates to this then, because we're purchasing vehicles?
As it relates to the police vehicles.
Can I ask about the fact that we tabled discussion on another item that's similar? because we can have discussion on that, and we're having discussion right now, right?
You can discuss the police vehicles.
The police vehicles and the other item that was tabled from the last,
No, that's not discussable, but
oh,
it's not gonna be, it will not ever be brought back up.
oh, gotcha.
It'll just go away when the tabling comes, because the police vehicles will already be purchased.
Oh, okay, well then I guess that's all I've got at the minute.
Mr. Christensen.
I thought when the special assessment district was passed, that was, because I remember chief was always had to come to us early to get an approval because the dates didn't line up with the budget. And I thought that took care of that, so we didn't have to even concern that. He could have ordered his vehicles.
He could have ordered them, but our city manager said it would be better to bring it to the city council.
Okay.
For other approval.
Perfect.
You are correct, though. It was approved.
Okay.
So is there anything really that we need to discuss about the vehicles? Because we're just talking about buying vehicles, and they're Tahoes, and they could have been bought already.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's go.
One question.
One more question?
One more question, because I know I've done enough ride-alongs that there was some issues that officers had, and it looks like we're sticking with the same vehicle. Have they addressed things? Do you know if they made upgrades with the brakes and the noises and that kind of stuff?
I don't know if GM has made that yet. They still like to squeal.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Claims and accounts. We have do we have a motion? We have claims and expenditures in the amount of $656,024.37. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
And then there's discussion. Mr. Newman had a
Right.
question.
Just for my own curiosity, Chief, this is going to be directed to you again. You know, in the expenditures, there was the firearms purchase, and I'm just curious as to what, you know, common practices, you know,
Sure.
and that sort of thing on, you know,
Yep.
purchasing new and
Yep.
how
Yeah, so that's actually part of our officer purchase program where we pay for that and it gets payroll deducted out of the officer's check every single paycheck throughout the fiscal year. So it ends up being a net zero for the city, but the officers get new and updated equipment. And we change that throughout the year. Next year it'll be something different, the following year it'll be something different, to where it's equipment that they will use, whether it's an off-duty gun, it's a ballistic plate, something of that nature, optics one year we did. It's, they then use that throughout the course of their duties, and it becomes a net zero for the city. So that purchase, that number that you see will, at the end of the year, is gonna be zero, once we get to June 30 of next year.
Yeah, so this is personal property at that point?
It does get transferred, it gets transferred over after a year, after a year.
Right.
So it is still city property until it is fully paid, and then we go from there.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. Anything else?
Nope, that was it.
All right.
Roll call vote for approval of the claims.
So moved.
I already got the motion.
Oh, good.
He'll be back.
Pretty slow.
We can still,
All right, Fullerton,
yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Brummett,
Yes.
Chin.
Yes. Told you. Motion carries. Mayoral appointments. Asking for your approval to appoint Nikki Bowles to Administrative Appeals Board, Nikki Bowles to the Brownfield Development Committee, Nikki Bowles to the Zoning and Construction Board, Jeff Wetzel, Administrative Appeals Board, Susie Duback, Camp Francis, and Margaret Bales to the Camp Francis Board.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? One of them was a person that turned their application in, and the clerk didn't even wait a week before we called her, right? It was
That's
quick.
funny.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment.
John Laup, 114 East Lovett. Chief, I feel for you. You're in the middle of this, and I know you're just trying to do things that are right and to help keep us safe. But this whole situation with the flock cameras, I've done a lot of research on it as well. And I'm curious about the motion that you approved as far as what's actually being reviewed. Is it the current interdepartmental policy or something else? I'm not sure what that's actually is. The other concern, specifically with Flock itself, and Councilmember Scott, I have seen some of the same things about, it's not the system itself, but what the company behind it is doing. Because some of the things I've now have seen are, not only are they looking at municipal cameras, but they're also looking at privately held cameras. Doorbell cameras, Ring cameras, all this other stuff. They're trying to create a kaleidoscope. Pretty soon we'll be like London that has almost 900,000 cameras on a closed circuit camera system. So I understand people's issues with regards to, their right to privacy. The argument always has been, hey, you're out in public. Well, single points of data, yes. But when those points of data are then strung together, there's been two specific court cases with the United States Supreme Court. One in 2018 actually happened out of Detroit, and it dealt with cell phone towers. So a little bit different, but the same concept, wherein the police, without any kind of warrants, went ahead and went to a individual's cell phone provider and asked for cell tower data over, I believe, about 127 days, and went ahead and used that information to then string this individual's movements together. And I went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they ruled that, yes, single points of data, yeah, you're in the public, okay. But when you're starting to put together actual movements of people, that's where people have the right, the expectation of privacy. So it's a whole other issue there. There's another one with geofencing warrants that happened out, I believe, out in Nevada area, or Utah, actually. And so it's things that, we need to be cognizant of. The other issues are, number one, if you haven't reviewed the current legislation that is sitting in the State House and the Senate, I would implore you to do that, because you're talking about whether or not you should adopt a policy. Well, I think the language, at least in what's going to be expected, if this passes as it's currently written, is identical, and you won't have a choice. You will adopt a policy, and it will be transparent and put out onto the city's webpage for everyone to take a look at. There's specific timeframes for doing that. But the other issue too, and I appreciate Chief Brentar talking about, we have this disciplinary things involved as far as if this information is misused. The problem there is the damage has already been done. Yeah, someone could get disciplined for that, whatever that could be, but the individual or whoever's been damaged has been damaged. I think you should look at a system where you keep that from happening. My prior career as a professional, I worked almost 15 years in a special investigative unit in the insurance industry, and we had access to a lot of information. And guess what? We had dual verification before any of that information could be accessed. Similar to when you are getting your financial information. Now it's dual verification. Same thing here. If I had one of my claim reps who wanted to get information, they had to come to me first. I didn't have access to the system. I could only give them approval to go get it, and then the person who would actually do the accessing, it would then be given to them. That way you don't have damage at all, and you catch it from the get-go. So just some things to think about. Obviously, it's something we'll be discussing further. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'll take my turn and help end this meeting on a happy note. For anyone who hasn't met me, my name is Jessica Sulecki. I am the director for the Charlotte Community Library, and I give monthly reports on what's going on at the library. And pretty much our report this month is just a bunch of thank yous. Thank you so much to everyone who went out and voted on August 4th. We were very happy that our millage passed and that we can continue to support this wonderful community for another 10 years. We are very excited. We have lots of ideas we're bandying around about how to make sure we continue to improve our services for the community, and so look for those in the next few months as we sort of narrow that down. And also thank you to everyone who participated in summer reading. It is officially over. I can breathe a sigh of relief. But we had over 1,000 reading logs turned in this summer, which is a big jump from previous summers. And so thank you to everyone who participated. It was a wonderful time. In just our summer reading programs over the summer, we had almost 1,200 people attend those programs. And it is wonderful to see that many people coming out and participating in such a big event for the library. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has about the library or about any of the stats in my report or anything else. Okay, thank you so much.
They're not rude, they're just not, they're not allowed to ask during public comment. We could put you on the agenda and then we'd let you talk back. Anybody else in the audience? Whichever you prefer. Do it during staff.
There's no.
Well, we'll have to make an exception for you, I guess. Is anybody online?
Yes, Jody Pruden is.
Jody Pruden, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to make sure you guys didn't think that I wasn't still out here. Real nice. Actually, what I want to say is regarding the flock system or our cameras that read license plates. We happen to use the flock system, which is what I believe everyone is questioning. My thing is, at what point does the good of what the cameras do get outweighed by the bad apples doing illegal activity? I believe that we hear about all the bad stuff, but do we hear about all the good stuff that they do? So should we also pause on that? Personally, I believe that Chief Brentar presented this information in the past very clearly as to what they allow and don't allow. Just because another entity like ICE misused the information does not mean that the city of Charlotte is going to. So it sounds like what FLOC, the system, and the runners of the system do is a company, and that is what's in question. This is not something we can control. So at what point in time do we trust our police chief or department to make the correct decision? Let me just say that I believe that maybe we can do some of the dual verification like John said. That was a great idea. Possibly we could request a quick warrant through the prosecutor's office. Something that would give some, I don't know, would put some more clarification on what's being done. So my thing is, okay, they want to have these block systems guarded and not have stuff available. But what about fingerprints? Are we going there next? And what about all the different areas that come into use to put this information together for police and prosecutors and, well, public defenders, whatever entity it is? Where is it going to stop? So I can't imagine that we're going to, like Justin said and a couple of others, that we're just going to abruptly stop doing this when we're not doing anything wrong. I trust our police department and our police chief. And I would hope that knowing what he plans on doing and how he uses it is going to be carried through. So yes, if in fact, if it's used improperly, then maybe what we need to do is have a bigger penalty, prosecution, whatever you want to call it, for the people or the entities doing that. Instead of picking at our little police department and the people who are using this information properly. So it's a one bad apple, and out of how many bushels do we really have one apple equivalent for all of the rest? The other thing I want to say is thank you to Michaela and Alicia for hanging around during the voting night and for taking care of all of that for the city of Charlotte. I know it was a late night for them. And I just want to know that they appreciate that. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nobody else? We'll close the public comment then. And what? Go to the mayor, council, and Stephanie. How's that?
All right, I'm just gonna give you guys a brief update of what I've got going on, because you know I've always got something going on. So first things first is we got an Eagle grant for the recycling center. It's roughly around 170,000. It's gonna put up a 40 by 60 storage building. If anybody has driven by recently, you'll see that we don't have anywhere to store anything. So we'll be making some modifications down there, repaving the parking lot, and then adding perimeter fencing. As Justin stated, we also got a grant through the DNR. That's a $61,000 grant for the tree nursery, and so that'll get us a shed out there, some deer fencing, and a magnitude of other things that we put into that grant. I haven't been briefed on the grants yet, but we will be soon, and then we'll bring the agreements here for approval of signing. I wanted to comment on the splash pad situation. I went to Rotary on Wednesday, and I gave a presentation to them. It was geared towards the splash pad. This is what they requested from me. But I did add in some other things like pickleball courts and a dog park. And referring to what is now Johnson Foundry Park, where the concrete slab is, during the parks visioning, Fleece and Vandenbrink overlaid that with 6 pickleball courts. I think it was roughly about 70,000 per pickleball, or per 2 pickleball courts. So we can fit 6 on there. The concrete slab's in great shape for something like that. I know that pickleball courts are something that people are always bothering me about. So with that being said, Rotary came to me and they said, we need a project to do. We haven't done a project in a while. Do you have anything small we can do that we can get taken care of? What I said to them was, we have a couple basketball courts that need resurfacing, tear the concrete out, put the concrete back down. That would be my small pet project that I'd like to see done. And then I sent her the parks visioning, and she came back and called me and said, would you like to present on the splash pad? And I said, sure, yes, I will. Our city manager was there. So I made aware to them that none of this has been brought into the council and that nothing's set in stone if that's your guys' prerogative or if this is what you guys want to do. But I did give them a number, and so that way they can figure out if this is something they want to fund. From what I understand, they would fund the whole thing. But I haven't had contact with her yet. I'll probably reach back out to her this week and just kind of see where they're at. That way I can figure out what I need to do on my end and bring to you guys. Because we don't have a full design done on it. It's just a visioning. Also, the maintenance cost depend on what splash pad we go with, but we can probably be somewhere between 20 and 30,000 a year for O&M on a splash pad. So I think that pretty much covers that. Just a couple other things. You guys passed through Reclamite a few months ago. They're gonna start reclamiting this week. I think they'll be here Thursday. So look out for that. We'll be posted on our social media. And they gave me a list today of which streets they're gonna do what days. So we'll publish that out there. And then the AMI project underway. They've been changing out meters. Our water department has also been changing out meters. So as the PMI changes out the 3/4 inch meters, we are still changing out meters that are larger than that need to be changed out or have different touch points or radios added to them. So it's underway. I know they had a low response rate for going into people's homes and changing out the meters. I think a lot of people think that they are fake, like it's a scam. I get people calling all the time thinking it's a scam, and I'm like, it's not a scam. Please call them back. So I would assume they go in a 3-spurt. They send 3 cards. First one, call to, get your meter changed. Second one, second notice, call, get your meter changed. Third notice, we're gonna shut your water off. So I expect when people get there, we're gonna shut your water off notices, they're gonna start calling. So we'll see how that ends up. But so far, so good. 2 more things. Friday, 6 to 8, we're having the grand reopening of Oak Park. We're gonna have a ribbon cutting. I would like for all of you to be there so we can take photos and do all those things, and for Kevin to give a great speech. And something else really cool the DPW worked on last week for multiple days was trying to get that shell fountain working. And lo and behold, they did get part of it working. So the water comes out, the bottom portion of it right now, and we haven't been able to get it to come out of the top. So for the event, we'll have it on with it coming out where it comes out. We'll shut it back down. Our lovely Adam, our fleet facilities manager, he's a trick of all trades. So we're gonna shut it down and he's gonna beautify it, skim coat it, mortar it, whatever he's gotta do to make it look really nice. And in that same time period, he's gonna try to figure out how we can get the water to come out of the top. So it's a work in progress, but it is partially working. And just if nobody knows, when we tried to date back to the last time this shell fountain was running, we're probably back to like the 1950s. So the last person that we could find that was alive that worked in the DPW was in the 60s when they hired it, and it wasn't working then. So I'm going with the 50s, but it could be before that. So this is a historic event, if you ask me. So that's fun. And then the last thing is, everybody knows I'm always up to something. So right now, I had sent out an RFP to do a DPW campus visioning, basically. The bids came in, some over 20, some under 20. So talking with Vester, we liked the low bid. We were good with that. But it's basically just going to give us a vision of, we had that the needs assessment done. It basically told us, we need to tear down this building. We've got these 3 or 4 other buildings that are basically in bad shape, and this is what you need to do to fix them. A lot of it's all structural stuff. So what I asked in the RFP was that somebody come in and they use the space needs assessment as a base, and then we take that and we figure out, one, what we can do with the armory. Is it something that we can renovate? Is it something we can use and renovate and add on to make one DPW building that will house all of our fleet? Because right now we don't have storage for all of our vehicles. So can we use that building and build off of it and make it the new DPW building and fleet building? Or do we need to basically, is it too far gone? Is it cheaper to demo it and then basically put up a new building, and with everything in mind of space and things like that and overall flow for the entire parcel down there? So we have to start somewhere. I have to know a ballpark of money, what it's gonna cost, what we need to do to try to start applying for grants or whatever I can do down there. The buildings aren't in the best shape. The armory needs a new roof. So it's just a ticking time bomb. So that is what I'm up to. Does anybody have any questions? Would you like anything else? That's like 1%. Would you like me to keep talking?
So you didn't mention the band?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have a fabulous baseline band.
Right, so don't just show up, be prepared to dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit about that. We'll have the baseline band. We have a lemonade truck. We have a Kona ice truck. We have face painting. We have balloon twisters. And everything was sponsored by very generous people in the community, including the Friends of the Charlotte Library. That's right there. Yeah, it's a free event and should be fun.
Thank you.
Bring your kids. Okay, bye.
Start down with Mr. Christensen. Any comments? haven't already
Thanks to
made?
those of you here and online. I just want to say congratulations to Mayor Pro Tem and Mrs. Rodriguez on the birth of their son John, which is awesome. And I had it on my list too for the Oak Park dedication on Friday the 28th, 6 p.m. until 8. That's it.
No, just thanks for everybody that's in the audience and online and listening to our discussions tonight.
Appreciate the opportunity to discuss some of the matters that are before us. Appreciate the clerk and all the help, many people who had made the election possible and pulled off what was, I guess, viewed as impossible with the people you have. People said, she doesn't have enough help, she hasn't done this long enough, things like that. And as far as I know, it was done, and she did a great job of it with the help that she has. So I appreciate that because that's tall order. That's kind of part of the reason that we're citizens in the city and, part of the government that we need. So I appreciate all that. Thanks.
Mr. Scott.
I want to thank you for coming. I have nothing further except to announce I will be doing office hours tomorrow between 10 and noon at Phase.
Mr. Chin.
Yeah, I too want to thank everyone that came and online. Quickly, I attended the Cannabis Municipal Summit just this past week. Nothing exciting there, but there are reviewing new state rules, and they're waiting for final legislative approval. And of course, the federal government is taking up changes to laws regarding marijuana and changing the classification so that technically the state of Michigan isn't illegally allowing cannabis sales and anything to do with cannabis. Concern over ownership changes. A lot of changes are occurring, and the market is driving out folks. The quantity, the demand is going, continues to grow. However, prices have gone down, so our tax revenue that we get on the marijuana ownership will probably be the same, even though the sales are up from that standpoint. And then the last piece is that part of the rules that they're changing is that the state felt that the Cannabis Regulatory Agency exceeded authority and enforcement because they're set up only to regulate and create policy, et cetera, and they're not there to enforce it. I also attended a little 1-hour conference, what local leaders need to know about wastewater treatment. Very informative. If it comes around again, you should take a look at that because it really gets into how the water that you use goes back into the river after it's been treated and all kinds of things. It's really interesting. And then also, this is a good topic as we're bringing in our new IT folks, but it was a seminar on municipal infrastructure, threats, vectors, and mitigations. And alarming to know that 9 communities in Michigan had gotten direct attacks on their water systems where the culprits took over the water system and locked the city out. So I'm not sure what things that we've done to try to avoid, the infrastructure being threatened by these hackers, because all of our water systems are on computers, and they're finding ways to get in and take care of that. Also, too, there's, again, this is for the community, but new energy grants of $300,000 available to support community solar and solarized initiatives that reduce energy costs and increase access to clean energy. So that is the end. I got one more item. There was issues that were brought up in regards to my meeting with the police chief and one meeting with our city manager. I researched this policy and charter, and number one, there's no prohibition against one-on-one meetings with the city manager. There is no requirement to report. I've been on council since June of '22. Next to Anthony, I'm the longest serving member, and we've always had availability to have one-on-one meetings with the city manager without having to report the details of those meetings. And I don't think it'd be a good idea that we start doing that, because if it's a requirement for I, as a council person, it will be a requirement for every single time a council member meets with the city manager, that they have to tell exactly what was said and what was reported and report out on those meetings. So, and then last, I did attend the funeral of one of our community's leading members, Joe Prey, and he'll be missed. That's it, Mayor.
Mr. Rodriguez.
All right. I feel like I need to say that the discussion around the flight security cameras really is embarrassment to me. I think, speaking to my colleagues, we need to do a better job at the way we go about these things. I think if we're going to bring up a discussion, the issue we have with discussion is it kind of can go anywhere, and that's okay. But in this case, I found that it seemed like everyone up here sort of had different issues with it. And so we weren't really able to present a solution or a motion that we thought would fix the problem. And so we ended up stuck in a review. I think it would be good that if we're going to have a discussion of something, suggested motions should at least be presented at the same time, so we kind of have an idea of what we're talking about. We can see a thoughtful motion played out, so we don't need as many amendments. I think that would be really helpful. And then if we want a discussion to present individual issues, maybe just mention, hey, I don't have a solution for this, and I'm happy to not mess with any systems until we come up with a possible option. But I think we gotta reorganize the way we do this, make sure we're a little more prepared, and maybe have a better idea of what each individual person's issue is. So that's it. Thanks.
I didn't have too much, but I will answer your question. When that comes up on this motion, or you don't have a motion, but if you want to discuss something and you don't want to put a motion on the table, it takes unanimous consent of the council. So all you have to do is say, I don't want to do it that way. Okay. And it would have been done. No motion required or nothing. If one person says no, you can't do unanimous. That's the only way you can talk about something unless you have a motion. So that's how that just got messed up in a way. But if somebody doesn't like it, just say, I'm against it. And then further, because Mr. Chin brought that up, when I talked about the meeting, that I never accused anybody of being against anything. What I said was, it would be better discussed in front of all of us here at the council at the same time, so we didn't have different. I've never said this against to meet with the manager. I just said that it would be better done here in front of the whole council. So we're going to move into a closed session, so we need somebody to read that motion there.
Pursuant to Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act, to consider material exempt from disclosure by state statute, Section 13(1)G of the Freedom of Information Act, which exempts from public disclosure information or records public to the attorney-client privilege, being confidential attorney-client written communications dated May 11th, 2026, July 13, 2026, and August 24, 2026, regarding MDCR complaint number 664206.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. All right, do a roll call vote. It's still unanimous. Yes?
Christensen,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Brummett,
Yes.
Rodriguez, Chin,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Motion carries.